Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Songwriting Simplified with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk in the very chilly and somewhat wet and rainy southeast corner of Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world, capital of the solar system, capital of the galaxy, capital of the nebula, and so on and so forth. I hope everybody is doing well and has had a good start to their week. My start to the week was not necessarily ideal. I had Monday off, which is nice, except kind of would have been nice if I hadn't had like a migraine, which kept me in bed for like the whole day. It was not a nice one. So I ended up just in bed for the whole day. Fortunately, I have lots of audiobooks and I had things that I could listen to. But yes, I had to have like the room darkened, the works. So yeah, it was not the best way to start. And then obviously, the next day you kind of need recovery time from a migraine. So, yesterday didn't get that obviously. Because I had to be back at work. But I got through it. I survived. I made it. I got out alive. And then today I'm all right, actually. It's definitely cold and stuff outside. My daughter had her Christmas concert with the National Youth Choir of Scotland, of which she's been a member for the last nearly 8 years. So that was a nice evening out for me, Kate, and Sam to go watch her perform. And it was really nice, really great, apart from the weather. The weather sucked. The weather couldn't make up its mind whether to rain or to snow. So it was kind of sleet and meh, just not ideal. So that is why I started the show a little bit late this evening, because I didn't get back until 11 o'clock and I still hadn't really eaten a whole lot in the way of food, so I needed to have something to eat before we start. So that is why I set the start time to be 15 minutes later than normal. So I apologize for that. I hope you guys understand. It's, it's just one of those things. So let's see who is here. And it looks like Bobby Booth was first in the door, which is awesome. Bobby is not very often first in the door, but it's like nearly a whole hour before Billy Morgan came in. And Boris Dancy is here as well. Tony Stringer is here. Awesome. He says, I will attend tonight. Just enjoy the show of Modern Talking on my computer until you start. Modern Talking. Never heard of that, but cool. And we got Just Bob, who says, going to miss the show, just about to leave work, we'll watch the replay. Tap the like button. Thank you very much, Bob. You are awesome. I appreciate you a lot. We got Brett Marler here, who says, managed to get home earlier than expected, which is even better. And we got Paul Morgan, we got Dwayne here, we got Danny Taylor, we got Daryl Harrison, we got Don Oliver, we got Ron Figura, and I already said Brett, didn't I? Yes. And we got Aurora's Boring Alice. That's my friend Dave, who says bah humbug. Same to you too. Billy Morgan says, my announcement to Dressing Room Radio and my stage manager 5 minutes before intro. Get off your arse. It's time to rock. Yeah, thank you very much. Gardner99 is here as well. And we've got Keith from Radio Talk Frumpet. We've got Rich Cresswell. I don't know why I called you Rick there. That's completely a mystery. But he says, Sally, a tad late here, but here nonetheless. And that is it. And Keith is also double bah humbugging. You can only do that if you have a double bass. Sorry. All right, so it's the season, as you can tell by the kind of backdrop that we've got here. We are in that time of year, and of course the jazzy version of Carol of the Bells which I did for last year's Christmas songwriting challenge, by the way, which was basically to do an arrangement of Carol the Bells. So, or do your own remix, your own thing with it, which is what we did last year. And so that's the one, that's what I did. And Rich says, you called me Rick because you're never going to give me up or let me down. Exactly. So there you go. I'm just going to call you Rick from now on, Rich, because of that. Because of that. Absolutely. But anyway, so we're talking songwriting, we're talking Christmas, and we're talking songwriting Christmas challenge thing that we have running. If you have not gotten involved yet, please do consider getting involved, because the prize this year, there is only one prize. The prize this year is freaking awesome. It is totally an awesome prize this year. And I've just got a no data warning there for a second. What the hell happened? Looks like we're still good. So I'm going to keep going. So yes, the prize for this year is totally freaking awesome. It is 12 months subscription. And I don't know why I'm slapping my desk, but it is 12 months subscription. Ow, that hurts. To Studio One Pro Plus, which means you get two prizes for the price of one, because not only do you get the 12 months of Studio One Pro Plus and everything that goes with it, but at the end of those 12 months, you get a free perpetual license of Studio One at whatever version, build number, feature level that we're at in 12 months' time. So I think that is, I think that's a totally awesome prize. Really, really best prize that I think we've had yet. So that is what is up for grabs. And all you need to do is write, essentially, your own Christmas song, basically. And for those of you that want to mix, there's a mixing one there as well, I believe, in the workspace. Yes, we're doing it in a workspace just like we did last year. Workspaces are awesome. They're a brilliant feature in Studio One Pro Plus, but you don't have to be a member to get it. Okay? You don't have to be a member to get involved in this. All you need is a free my.presonus.com account. And anybody that is a Studio One user has that. So if you are a Studio One user, or you have Presonus hardware, even if you're not a Studio One person, even if you use a totally other DAW, but you have Presonus hardware, you can completely and utterly take part in this. Even if you don't have Studio One, you don't have any Presonus hardware, you can make a my.presonus.com account for free. And once you've made that, you are eligible to enter. All you need is to hook up with Rich Cresswell, my partner in audio crime, and he will get you hooked up into the workspace, and everything that you could possibly need to make it work is there. So please do get involved this year. I want this year's Christmas songwriting contest to be the biggest and the best that we have ever done it. And I want me and Rich to have a really hard time choosing a winner. I really do. So, just so you know how this month is going to pan out, this is going to be the last Songwriting Simplified of the year. Because I am going to be here, there, and everywhere. Okay? So this is going to be the last show of 2024. So you already may be asking yourself, so when does this thing close, and when is the winner going to be announced? So the songwriting contest closes at 7 p.m. Central Time, that's United States Central Time, on Wednesday the 18th of December. And then the winner will be announced on the Sunday Night Live that follows that, which is on the 22nd. That is when we will announce the winner. So that actually gives me and Rich a wee bit of time to get ourselves into a meeting on Skype or something, and for us to listen to all the entries and decide upon a winner. So that's what will be happening next week. So there will be a Sunday show this week. So Sunday Night Live will happen on the 8th, which is this Sunday. Then next Wednesday, there is no Songwriting Simplified because I will be in Hamburg, Germany for a few days. And then there will be a Sunday Night Live on the 15th. I think, did I put this one in? I can't remember. I can't remember whether I decided whether there was going to be one or not. I can't even remember what I decided on my own post. Hang on, let me just go and double check what I said here, because I put it in my community post. Okay, no, I'm wrong. Excuse me, I am wrong. So Sunday Night Live is the 8th and the 22nd and the 29th. And then Songwriting Simplified is tonight only. And then we've got the Hogmanay show on the 31st. And the Songwriting Challenge closes, as I said, on 7 p.m. on the 18th. The winner to be announced on the 22nd. So there is no Sunday Night Live on the 15th. I've just double checked that. So if you want to know where all of that information is, it is on my channel in the community section. There is a post there that has all the details of what is happening show-wise for the month, because this December is a little bit complicated. So that's why I've had to do it this way. So for the most part, other than the 15th, there will be a Sunday Night Live. That's kind of where it all goes a little bit pear-shaped, because I'm going to be in Hamburg in the second week of December, and then the third week of December, I'm going to be down in England for my eldest daughter's wedding. So that's why I'm not going to be around for that 18th of December show that we would normally have. So that's why it is the way it is. So I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that this is the only show. So if you guys have any questions about the Songwriting Challenge, tonight is the night to ask them. Get them into the chat, and we can talk about it. And we can also talk, tips that you might want for your song. I have to do my song in the next couple of days before I go out to Hamburg. So I will get mine done well ahead of time. So that's kind of what is going to happen. So if you guys have any questions about any of this, then get them in the chat just now. And don't forget to type at Jonny Lipsham Studios at the start of your question. Rich will also pitch in to answer questions about the challenge as well. If you've got any other just general songwriting questions, arranging, composing, music theory questions, stuff like that, get them in the chat as well. And because we started a wee bit late, we will carry on a wee bit later as well. So I'm happy to go through until about 7:30. So if you guys are happy with that, then let's get the questions rolling. Bobby Booth says there's a third prize, and it is to listen to all the great songs that come out. Yeah, I would definitely recommend that you listen to all of the entries, and you leave comments on everybody's entries as well. Have a listen, give each other advice, give each other some tips, give each other some support. Because, I don't have a problem with you guys kind of pitching in and helping each other out, helping each other develop a really good song. So if you guys need a little encouragement along the way, encourage each other along the way. And you can do that in the workspace. There's plenty of space there to comment on each other's entries. And then you can submit your final entry and just mark it final. Once you're happy with it, just mark it final. Okay. Rich says you don't even need to use Studio One. Come on Pro Tools, folks. Come and see what the fuss is about. Absolutely. So, Rich will, I hope he will post links to the, to his profile in my.personas.com so that you guys can create your accounts and you can hook up with him and connect with him, and then you can get plugged into that workspace and you can see what it's all about. Brett says he's struggling with lyrics for mine as well as general melody. The best thing to do with lyrics is try and tell a story. Try and tell a story, create some characters and populate your characters into your story. And make it about Christmas. I mean, it doesn't have to be directly about the Christmas story as told in the Bible, because that might be not your thing. You may not even believe in that kind of stuff. And that's okay. But you can certainly make it seasonal. You can tell a winter's tale if you want to. Nothing wrong with that. So if you have a winter themed narrative or scenario that you want to unpack into a song, you can certainly do that. You can retell a tale. So if you find, for example, let's just say, I'm just plucking a name out of the air here. Let's just say you find one of Chaucer's Winter's Tales, and I think there are some, or T.E. Lawrence or someone like that, and you find D.H. Lawrence rather, not T.E. And you find like one of D.H. Lawrence's poems or something like that that is winter themed, and you decide you want to set that to music, go ahead, do that. So if you're struggling with lyrics and you don't really think you can do any decent lyrics, then borrow some. Find a public domain poem that's all about winter, and you can do a Google search for that and get some lyrics going that way. And then just set that to some music and try and make it have that kind of seasonal Christmas kind of vibe to it. And you can achieve that fairly simply. You know, my song there was, my intro music there was Carol of the Bells, which is an established song. It's a Polish song, I think. I think it's Polish. But Carol of the Bells was already an existing poem that was called Carol of the Bells. And then somebody had the great idea to set those lyrics to the tune of this Polish folk song. And so the two kind of met together and they became an established Christmas carol. And so that's what you hear sung by choristers in you know, churches and cathedrals all over the world. And sometimes on TV, you'll see, you know, choirs and that kind of thing doing a performance of Carol of the Bells. That's what it is. It's a Polish folk song with the lyrics that are somebody else's poem. That poem is not public domain. It's copyrighted, as is the title. But the music is not. The music is public domain. Which is why I did my arrangement of it, because it's public domain. So long as there's no vocal and I'm not singing the lyrics, we're good. I could use it. So that's what I did. So you can totally take an established public domain Christmas song and just do a reharmonization like I did, and put it in different genre, different style. You can do all those kind of things. You know, if you really want to, you could go totally avant-garde if you really want to, and just go out there and, you know, do something really experimental. And maybe do something using the diminished whole tone scale, or You could do something totally weird and outlandish if you really wanted to, providing it kind of sells that whole idea of this particular time of year, the, winter. Doesn't have to be Christmas. I mean, we call it the Christmas Songwriting Challenge, but it doesn't have to be Christmas. It can just be winter in general. The cold, the snow, the warmth of being in your home in front of a roaring log fire, that kind of stuff. Whatever you do to kind of enjoy winter and feel warm and cozy in this time of year, then make it about that. And maybe find some lyrics or a poem that fits that kind of vibe that you're going for, and then just set that to music. And as for melody, the best way to go for melody is kind of, if you listen to the melody for Carol of the Bells, the original melody, not, the melody that I did. I mean, that is the same melody. I just kind of jazzed it up a little bit. But if you go for if you have a listen to the original melody, you'll find it's actually made up of simple little melodic fragments, little phrases that actually get repeated quite a bit. So repetition is definitely going to be key here, because that is what gets the melody into the listener's mind, and they'll start singing it, before you've even finished the song. And if you can get that going with people, then you've written a very good song. So melody, keep it simple, make it out of short little fragments, a little 2-bar phrase, an answering 2-bar phrase. Maybe your answering 2-bar phrase is the reverse of the first phrase. Or maybe it's the same melody, it's just up a fifth. Or it's up a third. Or something. And then create another little phrase. Answer that little phrase. Just kind of make it simple. Don't try and overthink the process of melody writing. A lot of people do that. When they sit down to write a piece of music, it's just like the whole thing becomes incredibly abstract. They just go, well, how do I start? Well, you start with a phrase, and it can be a simple phrase, a simple ascending 4-note melody. Maybe. That's just a little 4-note phrase. I just plucked that straight out of the air. Let's put this onto the piano. There we go. How would I answer that? Because that now hangs as an open-ended question because it lands on the fifth. So maybe I could go, if I wanted to give it a sense of closure, or if I want to prepare for a second phrase, I could do that. So now I've answered the question with another question. Now, I could repeat my first question. And then my answering phrase could be the one that closes the door. And then I could repeat all of that all again, but this time that final ending phrase, instead of going down, goes up. And that sets us up for the chorus. So it could go like that. So we're still landing on the tonic. We're just going up the octave. And it's just a simple little variation. And then that sets you up for your chorus. And your chorus will have different melody altogether. But there's an example of how very quickly and very easily, just by using the C major pentatonic scale, which is all I used there, you can create question and answer phrases that make a melody. Call and response, question and answer. It works. There is so many songs. There are so many songs and so many melodies of really, really great composers who have used that idea. There's also theme and variations. For example, if you take Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, it starts with the Morse code letter V, V for victory. Da 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 da. What does he do what does he do next? He repeats it, but he transposes it. Da 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 da. So it goes da 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 da. So it's the same melody, just transposed down, and then he goes da 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 da, which is basically taking that melody and moving it to the tonic, the third, and the fifth, and then he does that again, and then he does that again until he builds that up to a climax where he goes da 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 da. Then what does he do next? He takes that same idea again, but this time shoves it down a fifth. And yet, what did Beethoven do with that? This is just the first movement of the symphony. He takes that one little letter V phrase and he uses it through the whole 4-movement work. That is basically the catalyst for the whole work. So that's how simple melody writing can be. And that is incredibly effective melody writing. And you could kind of say that that's kind of a little bit theme and variations. He takes the theme and he starts tossing it around different pitches. And then he starts tossing it around the orchestra. So different parts of the orchestra are now throwing this melody around like they're throwing a tennis ball between different sections of the orchestra. And so this is another really great way to develop some really good, really effective tools for writing a melody. Taking a simple phrase, tossing it around, and then bringing it to a conclusion. Then setting the listener up for expectations of something else, but instead you hit them with the same idea again in a different key, a related key, and then you stretch that idea harmonically, you stretch it maybe rhythmically as well, and maybe you add some notes, so you go through an additive process of adding some extra notes to that melody to make it a little bit more interesting, because you don't want to bang the listener over the head with the same thing too many times. You want to bang it into their head so that they've got that little phrase, and so that every time they hear that phrase, their ears kind of light up with delight. That's definitely something you want, but you don't want to, kind of bang them over the head so many times with the melody that they get sick of it. Because then that little phrase, its power will have flipped around, and instead of being something that they start singing, it'll be something that turns them off, and you don't want that. So repetition is useful. Be careful how you use repetition. Vary it. Take the same idea, flip it upside down. Maybe play it backwards. Maybe flip it upside down and backwards. Maybe transpose it. Maybe transliterate it. So basically, if the pitches go down, you make them go up. If they go up, you make them go down. So that's kind of like a retrograde inversion of the melody. So you can certainly do that. So basically, one little phrase can give you about 20 different variations and 20 different ideas that you can then develop into something else. So call and response, theme and variations. These are really, really handy techniques for writing a melody with very, very simple ingredients. And just, recycling ideas over and over again, and, kind of making them a little bit different each time. So I hope that helps you with your melody writing. Melody doesn't have to be abstract. It can be if you want it to be an abstract idea, but it really shouldn't be an abstract concept. It should be, instead of just sitting down with a blank piece of paper, you need to be sitting down with just one idea, one little 4-note idea, and then start mapping out on this piece of paper a question, an answer, another question, another answer. This time, the question is going to be a variation of question 1. It's going to be question 1, but upside down. Then your answer is going to be the same answer as answer 1, but upside down, and so on and so forth. So you work through these permutations, And you might think, hey, this is not really being very creative. This is kind of melody writing by numbers. Kind of is. But it's also creative as well, because you can then take that, you can take those building blocks and then you can finesse them. You can add some flair and some style to it. With, you know, different playing techniques, for example, and different colors. So I hope that that helps with that. As I understand it, there are no key restrictions. That is correct. You can write this in any key or no key. You can make this modal. You can make this atonal. You can make it non-tonal. You can do what you want. There's no restrictions. Sean Aaron says, my song is about Christmas rats. No lyrics, just a dance of sorts. That's cool. Christmas rats. Rats are often overlooked, or they get a bad press. That's kind of the other thing that tends to happen, is rats get maybe a bit of a bad press. I mean, you know, they are in the world to do a job, and they're in the world for a reason. Usually they are, you know, for the most part, human beings consider them vermin, and they kind of are, but they are vermin with a purpose. You know, they kind of clean up the world. A little bit like worms. Worms do the same thing. Worms and bugs and that kind of stuff, they are the world's cleaning ladies. So, you know, when there's stuff that needs decomposing, that's what they do. And rats help out with that as well. So yeah, they get a bit of a bad press. So maybe you could write something about that. Just Bob says he made it. Awesome. He says, I'm working on a Christmas song. Hope I can get it done by the deadline. Hope everyone is well. Thank you very much for asking there, Bob. And I'm glad you're working on your song. I hope that you do get it in on time. Tony says, I have lyrics for a Christmas song at Brett Marla. Reach me about it. Okay, so you guys are kind of going to help each other out a bit. Cool. Brett says, I have a vibe I'm going with, just having a struggle getting it into words. Well, you know what? If you're struggling to get it into words, then it maybe instead of spell it out, maybe go impressionist. Maybe go for that impressionistic kind of vibe. You know, rather than explicitly stating what the subject matter is, maybe go for that kind of smoke and mirrors kind of approach where you hint at what it is. So you're not directly stating it. You're not stating, you know, there's a snowman in the field with his carrot and the coal for buttons and a scarf around his neck in the nighttime, and the snow is falling and the wind is blowing. Yes, you can do all of that. That's a nice scene to set, but maybe instead of setting that scene really directly, maybe you go for something a little bit more abstract, maybe a little bit more vague, and you hint at it. So maybe our snowman isn't necessarily really, really clear and crisp to view. Maybe it's hidden as if you're looking from the lounge out into the field and you're looking through the frosted glass. You know, because in the house it's nice and warm, but out there it's cold, so there's some frosting on the glass. And it makes the snowman kind of look a little bit like it's a cloud or something like that. And you go for that kind of idea, maybe. I'm just throwing out a suggestion there. Maybe that would help. Yeah, be abstract. Don't be direct necessarily. Radio Top Trumpet says, yeah, they bring the bubonic plague. They certainly helped spread it. Didn't necessarily completely bring the bubonic plague, but they certainly had a big help in spreading the bubonic plague. So I don't know, maybe if you really want to, you could write a song about being in a plague-infested house at Christmas time during the height of the bubonic plague in the UK. You could certainly do that if you really want to. You know, there aren't really too many restrictions. Just Bob says, I'm going to write my song in low key. The song will be mythical. Mythical is good, especially for Christmas. Totally. Keith says, I'm thinking of doing an anti-Christmas song called Still Hate It After All These Years by Paul Grouchy. Yeah, or you could write the reverse of 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover and call it 50 Ways in Which I'm Stuck with My Lover. You could do that, and you could take that Steve Gadd drum part and, you know, that now legendary, famous Steve Gadd drum part, and just reverse it. That could be fun. Yeah, it took the Pope to really help out. Yeah, the Pope certainly did help. So, I mean, there you go. You've got a Christmas story right there already, Keith. I like it all. I like it already. 50 Ways to Piss Off Danny Glover. There you go. Yeah, if you can make that kind of fit the melody, then yeah, that could be quite fun. Yeah, anti-Christmas songs. They are a thing. There are songs out there, you know, that are kind of about that. They are definitely anti-Christmas. They do exist. I think if you're going for really, really, really obscure, you've got to start looking for anti-Hanukkah songs. I think there's probably maybe about 4 of them in the world, I would think. But yeah. It doesn't have to be Christmas at all. It can be just winter. It could just be a winter's tale, a winter's story. And we'll all be drinking hot chocolate and listening to your song about winter in some respect. So I'm really looking forward to all of these entries, by the way. It is going to be really exciting. I don't know what mine one is going to be yet. We have anti-love songs. You have options. Yes, we totally do. When it comes to anti-love and that kind of thing, I have to admit I am frequently inspired by comedian Jeff Dunham's puppet character called Walter, because he's been, you know, the character's backstory is he's been married for 50 years, and it really appears that he does not love his wife that much, but it's very humorous and very entertaining. So maybe you could write something in that kind of a vein if you really want to. Drifting in deep space, remembering your Christmases past. Yes, whilst the oxygen level gradually depletes and you start to go into, you know, necrosis and brain asphyxia as you're dreaming of your Christmases past. There you go. There's a happy Christmas song right there. Maybe that's what I should do. I don't know. I've not decided on mine. I might take another public domain carol and do another reharm. I think I might do something of that ilk. I had got ideas of doing a proper full-on big band arrangement, but be honest, I really don't think I'm going to have time to do a proper full-on big band arrangement. So that may well have to wait until next Christmas, unfortunately. So we got 15 people here. We kind of peaked at 21, so we've lost a few people, sadly. Maybe they're not interested in the Christmas songwriting challenge. And that's okay. You know, if you've got other questions about other songwriting things, then we can certainly discuss those. My family ate me for Christmas, country tune. Yeah, you know, kind of like driving home for Christmas, except you get pulled over by the interstate police, and then they breathalyze you, and they clock you at being like twice the legal drinking limit, plus you were speeding. You were doing 130 miles an hour down the interstate, and so you end up in the drunk tank overnight, and your car gets impounded on the way home for Christmas. Yeah, there you go. That would certainly work. Just Bob says, if the J-Man wrote a Christmas song, it would be called "If It Wasn't for Christmas, I Wouldn't Be Hanging Around." Maybe. How about Santa's? There you go. That's kind of a salacious little story right there, Keith. For sure. If you want to write a salacious story, you could certainly do that. I would not object to you entering such a song for the challenge, for sure. I think that would work. All right, we got any other questions? It is now 1:00. But like I said, I will keep going for another 20 minutes or so. So if you guys want to stick around and ask some questions about songwriting, arranging, composing, that kind of stuff, as well as kind of talking about the Christmas challenge, then certainly do get your questions in. I'd be happy to help. For sure. Let's see. It needs a Barry White vibe. Yeah, it kind of does. That whole concept there, Keith, definitely needs a Barry White vibe. And it needs to be slow funk. You know, kind of like that, you know, maybe not quite a ballad, maybe a little too fast for a ballad, but, you know, maybe round about that kind of 70, 75 BPM. With the wah-wah guitar and the Fender Rhodes and all of that. Definitely. There is the Pennsylvania meetup tonight. Yes, there is. Can somebody tell me what time that starts, please? That would help me out a lot. It is now 7:03 Central Time, so please do let me know when that starts. Because I would prefer not to overlap with that. If I can avoid it. I have a feeling it starts at like 2 a.m. Yeah, 2 a.m. 2 a.m. here in the UK. So it's going to start in just about an hour's time. 8 Central Time. Thank you. All right, so kind of just about an hour. Okay, cool. Yeah, just about an hour. Cool. Okay. So, I would really love it if we have loads of entries in this. It would be really, really great. Let's make this the biggest and the best Christmas songwriting challenge that we've done. Because this will be the second one that we've done in partnership with Rich Cresswell. So it would be really great if we could make this one the biggest and the best. Just Bob says, a downstroke on guitar strings ring differently than upstrokes on a guitar. Take an F chord, for example. Is that diving into semitones? No, it's not diving into semitones. But it is diving into overtones. Not the same thing. So the reason why upstrokes and downstrokes sound different is because effectively you're arpeggiating the chord in two different directions. You can replicate this on a keyboard. For example, if I was to take this C major chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there we go. There's our 6 strings. So if I start with the lowest note first, that is going to simulate a downstroke on the guitar. Okay? But if I reverse that, then that will simulate So, what do we notice? What we notice is that a downstroke sounds a little bit darker and a little bit richer because the low strings are being played first. So they are ringing out first and then you get the sparkle of the upper strings after the fact. But when you reverse that and you play an upstroke, you get the reverse. So you get the bright sound of the upper strings first, and then you get the lower strings coming after the beat, effectively. So that's if you do a slow stroke. If you do it like I just did, that's basically a slow kind of stroke through the strings and a slow stroke up through the strings. If you speed this up, it effectively sounds just like junk and junk, but they still sound different because your human ear still perceives, even though the notes are now being played much, much faster, almost simultaneously, the low notes of the downstroke are still heard first, and the notes of the upstroke are still heard first. So you still get that dark, light, dark, light. And this is why strumming patterns on guitar can be so incredibly funky, or so incredibly strident as well. Let's take reggae, for example. What is the prevailing stroke pattern when strumming in reggae? It's the upstroke, to get that brightness of the what they call the chop on the upstroke. Okay, so they don't really play the downstroke nearly as strongly. When they do, it's a soft downstroke and a strong upstroke. So you get those bright sounds of the higher strings coming first. And so that chop sounds really bright. That's what you want for that reggae sound. A lot of people do it the wrong way around. If they're not really reggae guitar players, but they are basically trying to simulate reggae, they'll do it as a downstroke. It's wrong. You have to do it as an upstroke. You're going to do that proper reggae, trying to get that proper reggae upstroke sound, you have to do it as an upstroke. You can't do it as a downstroke. It's the wrong way round. It has to be upstroke first and then downstroke. And so a lot of guitar players that don't really understand how reggae works, they make that mistake. They'll do it as all downstrokes, and it doesn't sound right. Even if the rhythm is right, the sound is wrong. You've got to have that bright start, that bright sound of the upstroke for reggae. So the low and the high fake a change in pitch that doesn't exist. Well, they don't. It's not a change in pitch. It's a change in timbre, because you're hearing either the low strings first or the high strings first. So it's not a pitch thing. It's a timbre thing. So the downstroke is darker because the low strings are hit first, and the upstroke is brighter because the higher strings are struck first. So it's a timbre thing, and it's a tone thing. It's not a pitch thing. So when you play a C major chord as a downstroke, and then you play the same C major chord as an upstroke, it's still the exact same notes. The notes have not changed. It's the timbre of the sound that changes. Much brighter on the upstroke. And yes, drums tend to not play the one in reggae. Depends, actually. If you're playing one drop reggae, which is most of Bob Marley's catalogue, most of Bob Marley's songs are one drop reggae. Now, what do we mean by one drop? It means the kick drum is played on the 3 rather than the 1. So it's 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the bass doesn't play the 1 either. In reggae, mostly you don't play the 1. Mostly you ignore the 1, and everyone plays either the and of 1, or they will emphasize beat 3. And that's kind of what makes reggae go. Okay, it's that emphasis on beat 3. and basically everybody ignoring beat 1. So that's one drop reggae, where the drop is on the 1. On the 3. It's right on the 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But 2 drop reggae is where you get 1 and it's 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So basically the kick drum goes on the 2 and the 3, and sometimes on the and as well, on the and of 1. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3. So it's like the and of 2 and beat 3, or it's on beat 2 and beat 3. And that's called 2 drop reggae. And you'll find that the music of the Police, particularly their earlier records, was a mixture of kind of like straight rock, with some soca, and some 2 drop reggae, but sometimes just 1 drop as well. Like Walking on the Moon, for example, it's not strictly 1 drop reggae, but it's, you know, it's close enough to being 1 drop. But actually, I think the chorus is actually 2 drop, because it's 1 ding da ding da da ding ga. So that would be a 2 drop reggae. And yeah, Stuart Copeland was brilliant at playing that kind of thing. And so the emphasis tends to be on the 3, and then, you know, crash cymbals tend to be on the 4. So that's another defining character of the Police's version of reggae, is that they do a lot with kind of, it's much more kind of swung and triplety, but not all reggae is swung. You know, some of it is actually really. So it's actually really, really straight. So yeah, there's different ways. There's different ways and different sounds and different styles, even within reggae. And if you want to use that for a Christmas song, go for it. I would love to hear some 1 drop reggae Christmas songs. Totally. That would just be perfect. That would be really, really good. I'd love to hear something like that. Yeah, you need to spell check that word timbre. It's a French word. You guys in the United States spell it wrong. You spell it as Timber, which is timber. No, it's timbre. Timbre. It's French. Timbre. All right, so let's see. Where are we at for time? We are at coming up on 1:15. I'll take one more question if there is one, and then we'll call it a night. And if I'm still awake, I might even turn up at the Pennsylvania meetup. If I'm still awake, I might not be. Been a long day, for sure. Been a very long day for me. Okay, I'm looking to see if there is anything else. And I'm not seeing that. But Rich has already posted his profile on my.personas.com. So if you want to get involved in the Songwriting Challenge, scroll up a wee bit in the chat and you'll find it here. He's written in caps, connect here. So if you want to connect and get in on that challenge, then please do that. And there, I said do. Please do reach out to Rich and he will get you hooked up. Just Bob is away to bed because he has to be up at 4:30 a.m. I know how that feels. 4:30 a.m. is not a fun time to be awake, for sure. Brett says he's on hour 14. Yes, I have been up since about 5 o'clock this morning. Having gone to sleep at 2 o'clock. There we go. He's put it in the chat, and he will put it in the comments down below. So if you are watching the replay, it will be in the comments down below. So you basically have no excuse. You have no excuse anymore. If you want to connect with Rich and get involved in this songwriting challenge, you can either respond in the chat or after the fact, when this show becomes a replay video, go and check the comments out. It will be there. When I see Rich has posted that in the comments, I will pin it. So it will be a pinned comment at the top so that no matter what anybody else posts after it, it will always be at the top. You can't miss it. And I just thumped the desk for no reason whatsoever. All right, I will call it an end to the show there. Billy has posted the meetup link for the Pennsylvania meetup if you would like to go and join that and talk all things Studio One. And speaking of all things Studio One, there has been an update to Studio One 7 that was released today, which is version 7.0.2, which has a fix for everybody's favorite bug, which is the colorization of tracks and channels. That has been fixed. So if you want to see your bus channels now brightly colored again, then you can do that. I will show you what it looks like. If you want to see that, let me just go and open a song that uses a lot of bus channels and a lot of effects channels. And I will show you what these colors now look like. So let's go over to Studio One here. And now you will see all my buses are nice and glowing bright red as they should. Thank you. Thank you to the guys at PSL, Persona Software, who I'm going to be seeing next week. That's why I'm going to Hamburg, Germany, by the way, folks. I'm going to the Persona Software office, and I'm not going there to hang out, okay? I'm going there to work. I'm going to be going there to work with the developers on some very, very exciting things that I cannot talk about. So don't even ask. But rest assured, they are extremely exciting things that I'm going to be working with them on. So I am very excited. I can't wait until I fly out there on Wednesday. It's going to be freaking awesome. And we're having the Persona Software team Christmas party as well, which they've invited me to as well. So I'm there to work and I'm there to party. I'm doing both. So take a look at the bus channels. Now, take a look at this. If I select one, now look at how nice and bright it is. So it is really, really, really clear that it is a selected channel. The same with these effects channels, which are white. And all these other channels. But if you want to see how it looks in the arranger view, or the track view, whichever one you call it, these colors are superb. So they look as they should, and they are really, really stand out bright when you select them, so you cannot possibly go wrong with which channel you're on. Now notice that actually on the track, even where there is no event, can you see that it now shares the same color as the track header? So these are yellow. So notice that the whole strip here is yellow. If I go to these kind of greeny ones, you'll see over here, I mean, this one's like really green, but you'll see here how at the end here that this is kind of lit up and shares the same color as the track header. So combine that with the track icons as well as the channel icons. My opinion, you cannot possibly go wrong with which channel you are selecting. Whether it's a bus channel, an effects channel, or any other type of channel, in my opinion. So this is Studio One 7.0.2. It was a hotfix. It's not really got anything else in it other than that. So if you have reported other things, they're not fixed in this release. They will be addressed in another future release at some point. But yes. So for example, if you have already registered a complaint about how if you transform a mono track to rendered audio, it renders a stereo file, a stereo audio event, and puts the channel into stereo mode, and you don't want that behavior, you don't like that behavior, and you've already registered your complaint, that will be addressed in the future, I think, at some point. I don't know how they're going to address it, but I'm fairly confident that it will get looked into. But that has not been addressed in this release. So if you want to see what has been addressed, go check out the release notes. Where do you find the release notes? Help. View release notes. When you click on this guy, it downloads and opens the PDF for the release notes. And this is literally a one-pager with like 3 things on it. It's a hotfix just to address this main bugbear. So I hope that that helps you guys. All right, so we will call it there, and I will catch up with you guys. If I'm still awake, I'll catch up with you guys over at the Pennsylvania meetup. But until then, folks, I will bid you all a very good night. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Live. Good night, folks.